Eric Strickland.
Strickland for three. You're going to go out of here as the Big 8 tournament champion.
On 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Happy Super Bowl Sunday to everybody out there. We're back wrapping up another disappointing Nebraska basketball game here on the Hoops Postgame show. No DP, no Strick today. Pretty busy with the day that they've got going on. So it's myself, Jake Balkovin, and Nick Sainer joining us today as well. Nick, you said you have plenty of thoughts, so we'll get all those out, and you are welcome to join us as well. Give us your thoughts on the Starter Hammock text line 402-464-5685. We don't have a producer today, but we'll take your calls live on air as well. 402-464-5685 if you have thoughts. A reminder, let's keep it clean. I know you're frustrated. This is another one of those kind of big picture type of games in my mind. Not a whole lot to break down as far as if this play happened or if somebody played a little bit better today. It was an absolute mess. And another reason to kind of question what's going on overall together at Pinnacle Bank Arena and with the Nebraska men's program. So we'll get into it, it won't be the most fun discussion, but it's a discussion that we're used to having at this point. It's Nebraska falls to Iowa 98-75, and it wasn't that close. Nebraska was able to put up 50 in the second half to make it look somewhat respectable against Iowa's backups and probably a little bit of a lackluster effort from them. But either way, this was pretty close to as bad as it got. You thought you hit rock bottom with Northwestern. I think the first half down 53-25 with Keegan Murray, I think, scoring 23 at that point in time, almost outpacing the Huskers, was just as bad. So I guess first thoughts more than anything from you, Nick.
Well, I want to keep it clean here. Okay, so first thoughts is I feel bad for guys like Derek Walker because he was playing hard down the stretch. That's one positive thing I'm taking out of this one. Derek Walker once again had big minutes down the stretch, played well. Just saw this stat line from Jacob Padilla: 24 points on 10 of 13 shooting for Nebraska's two centers, Derek Walker and Eduardo Andre. Nebraska as a team had 12 assists, 3 turnovers in the second half. Here's what I'll say. You just lost 98-75 to the ninth. To a team that's ranked or rated 9th in the Big Ten standings. 9th, you just lost by 23. Doesn't matter if it's on the road. You just lost by 23 to the 9th best team in the Big Ten.
Yeah.
Like think about that. And then you compile that, or you put that on top of the blowout loss to Northwestern, who was even worse statistically, and a 500 team. They came into Lincoln at that time 10-10. And you got blown out on your home floor there. I truly thought that that game against Northwestern was as low as it was going to be. I think it took a step even lower tonight.
I think it did. I mean, I think, again, after that first half, the final score doesn't look as bad. If you were watching at certain points, Jordan Bohannon was playing to take any shot that he wanted to. Wasn't passing the ball there in the second half. So, again, they rested Keegan Murray, who had 30. We're talking about a mismatch. 37 points tonight, and boy, is he on fire. They kind of mentioned there at the end, coming off a 30-point game. Over the last couple of games, he's 29 for 35 from the field for 67 points. So definitely a guy not to be overlooked in the Player of the Year discussion in the Big Ten. He put on his career best performance now against the Huskers, something I think we've starting to become accustomed to that as well. It was just kind of it was weird. I mean, they had ended up shooting a lot of threes, Iowa did, but didn't necessarily have a great three-point shooting first half, and still just dominated Nebraska as far as points off of turnovers, fast break points. It was something like, I think it was close to 28-0 with those two things combined in the first half. So again, I don't want to downplay the second half and the effort that some of the guys put in, and the fact that Nebraska, I guess, didn't roll over there to a degree. But I think that when it's 53-25 at halftime, the game's over. There's not much that can really be said there. So from there, it's just kind of open gym type of play. And, I guess Nebraska did what they could in that. But, for example, Keegan Murray just could have played. He could have had 50 today if he wanted to. They didn't play him too much in the second half down the stretch, and obviously wasn't on the attack as much.
And it was obvious that in the second half, Nebraska drops 50 points as a team in the second half. From an offensive standpoint, you're like, okay, yeah, 50 points. But like Bach just said, it was obvious that Iowa lost interest.
Yeah.
Like, even though how no matter how bad that sounds, you were up 30 on the worst team in the conference. Like, and here's one other thing I will say. With whole, like, I want to have this big picture discussion with you, Bach, because I don't know how there's got to be changes that are made.
Yeah.
There has to be changes. And here's what I'll say. If you look ahead to next year and how everything's going to kind of shake out, you're going to lose guys because of graduation. You're always going to lose guys because of attrition and transferring. At some point, you have to change other things. They've had those changes every single year. They've had the changes of let's turn over our whole new roster every single year, and it has not worked. It has not changed into wins. Nebraska, you cannot lose to Northwestern at home by 30, or you cannot be in a game against Iowa, who is 16 or is ninth in the conference going into this game, and you go on a 12-0 run or a 10-0 run and you're still down 23. That just can't happen. No matter how low Nebraska men's basketball expectations are or how bad the program is, at some point you have to put your foot down. You cannot be in February in a time where Nebraska basketball 4 years ago or 5 years ago with previous staff was in the talks of either NIT or on the bubble. And now you're here 4 years later and you're getting blown out by a 500 team in Northwestern. The Minnesota win didn't really do anything. It didn't move the needle. It was great to have that one in the win column for a Big Ten play, but then you follow that up with a 98-75 loss in a second half that you scored 50 points. 50 points.
Yeah.
It's embarrassing.
It is, and that's where the program is it's embarrassing to watch. My wife's kind of new to watching Nebraska basketball, and half the time I turn it on, she's just like, how is this worse than last time? Is that a good, she always asks me, is that a good team? I have to go, no, that's not really a good team you're playing. It's embarrassing. It's bad, and I know those guys in the building are going to be embarrassed by it. Again, sometimes I think we get too much into the discussions of lack of effort and stuff like that. I don't think that that's always necessarily the problem. They certainly get down on themselves, and they need to get, and again, then to put it all on Bryce. So, like, Bryce needs to be more assertive. Maybe at times you could say that, but he's just got a lot on his shoulders. So if he has an off game like he did today, you have to have somebody be able to step up. And, certain guys, again, didn't play awful, but as a collection it was bad, and the defense is bad. The strategy, I think, to go up against Iowa, who's coming off 110 points, and try to outshoot them, play at their same kind of pace, I don't think it was a great strategy. I think that's something that I know that they recruited to, but like, you're 1-13 in conference play. I know maybe the matchup says that you could go that route. But again, they're coming off 110 points in the last game. I don't completely understand the shot selection. A lot of turnovers in the first half. And it's just kind of goes into, again, the bigger picture discussion. So let's get some of your guys' thoughts off here. I want to go off of YouTube real quick, or Facebook, excuse me. Brian Joe says another heartbreaking loss for Nebraska ball. Certainly heartbreaking, not in the last second buzzer beater form. I think that would all make us feel actually a little bit better somehow. But it's pretty bad. Off the text line, don't care about the buyout. Fred has to go. These past 3 seasons have been in the worst in program history. Zero progress. Zero momentum. Mark says it's pretty obvious where this is going. There's nothing to build on. There's no progress. Play out the string, hire a new coach. And also says thanks for doing these shows. By the way, it can't be easy. Some of them aren't as easy, but this one is. It is. I don't mind this one because it is a bigger picture discussion after these games. I know a lot of people probably checked out and have long forgot about Nebraska basketball this portion of their afternoon. But for those of you that stuck around and are listening to us, again, we'd encourage you to enter the discussion. But the thoughts are pretty much the same. If you've listened, I keep saying it, if you are listening to this post game show And first of all, if you're sad for anybody, be sad for the network. They have to somehow put a positive spin on all this stuff. We can just talk truthfully here. If you are listening, you're a diehard, and you deserve more from Nebraska basketball. This is not the product that you've put your time, your heart, your money into, especially if you're a season ticket holder, or, even if you just go to whatever games, buy Husker gear, whatever, it's sad because I spent a lot of time outside of Nebraska basketball season thinking, man, I just can't wait for Nebraska basketball. No, I mean, and I don't know how many of us there are that do that, but I certainly am one. I look forward to Nebraska basketball every year. And it's just this season has been so disappointing because they're just out of the running so early. And now, you're just kind of down to hopefully they get a few wins. At this point, with the fact that you've played a few teams, they kind of had this stretch here where they played 11 top half of the Big Ten teams, went over. And you're just like, man, so they're out of any race. I hope they just win a few games, I guess. Now, 3 games into the stretch of easier games. Yes, they got one. The other 2 are absolute blowouts. And now you've kind of probably changed your attitude there even to, well, I guess I hope they don't get blown out, or maybe I do. So that change is forced into this program. And I think that it's going to be forced at this point. There's really nothing they can do. Even, winning a few of these games down the stretch and upset over a top 15 opponent down the stretch, even it would signify maybe a little bit of a heartbeat, but that's where you're at. And I keep going back to that type of feeling is that there's no heartbeat in this program because, as people say, there's not a whole lot to look forward to and say, well, this is why it's going to get better.
Well, I think I would actually push back and I don't even know if a win over anybody would give folks confidence, because the way I look at it is it's been a roller coaster year, a lot more lows than highs, right? Obviously. But with that, part of my question going into this game today was, all right, they get a win. They're in a place they have not been in before, not since Kennesaw State on December 22nd. They're in a place where they're coming in off of a win, and you're not facing number 3 Purdue. You're not facing Illinois. You're not facing Wisconsin. You're not having to travel to the Izzone and play Tom Izzo and the Michigan State Spartans. You're playing Iowa. That's part of it also. And so with that, and I understand Iowa is 16-7 and in a much different place than Nebraska is, and I get that. But there's also that part of you want to be competitive. And like Bach said, I wanted to go back to this. The farther we go through this season, the more and more I think it is less about effort and more about coaching. I think that a game like today, like you said, Iowa's going to want to push the pace. They are highly explosive on offense. That's part of their forte. They scored over a century, or they crossed the century mark last game. They're going to push the pace. And you folded. I understand good teams have a way of doing things that they do best, even when a team is preparing for them. But man, you were down 35 on the road to the 9th team in the Big Ten. And I know the Big Ten Conference is good, but I'm tired of, after every single no call on the offensive end, it's palms up in the air and calling for a foul. I'm tired of that, because here's the deal: is you're in that position. You're in that. You allowed your team to be in that position, down 35 points. And if you're mad that you didn't get a foul call because you barely got bumped on the elbow, then I'm sorry, but you're down 35, and that's the bigger problem in my eyes.
Yeah, it's real rough. I mean, again, like these sort of games, there's nothing that you can kind of point to and say, well, maybe if this happened or that happened, it could completely change the game. It was just a mismatch, and Iowa took care of business. Now, maybe I mean they've got Iowa coming to Lincoln. And in a few weeks, they're actually playing pretty quickly, a quick turnaround for Iowa to come back. So, you can hope for a better performance there. But I don't think that hopefully at least a different strategy, perhaps, because they tried today running with them. And like you said, it did help their bigs. Iowa doesn't necessarily play, Big Ten basketball with traditional bigs eating up space in the middle. So Walker and Andre kind of had space today, and we're able to get things done. Walker more so in the second half. Andre in his spot play off the bench. But again, it was just too little too late to really say much of anything. I think Casey Tamanaga chucking up a half-court shot with 5 seconds left in the game, or in the half, probably perfectly encapsulated how we all kind of felt about that first half. Again, this one did end up 98-75. Nebraska was able to jump back and make it somewhat respectable. And it's sad to say that. I mean, losing by 23 regardless is not respectful, but it looked like it could get a lot worse, and it was a lot worse for Nebraska at one point in this game. So just kind of going through those first half numbers again, and I don't know what it ended up. We'll try to run these downs, but more importantly, again, to me, is the first half stats than the final stats. And in the first half, points off of turnovers, Iowa 19, Nebraska 0. Fast break points, Iowa 16, Nebraska 0. Keegan Murray in the first half, I think, had 24 points, and Nebraska had 25. So that just kind of tells you all you need to know there. There's plenty more to kind of break down through this, and I think Iowa being the opponent is kind of perfect for this conversation because it seems like anything Iowa can do, Nebraska should be able to do, right?
Do we have to evaluate where Iowa is?
We have to evaluate where Iowa is here. And evaluate no more than anything, just geographically.
Yeah.
They're the closest team to Nebraska in the Big Ten. They don't necessarily have just huge amounts of tradition in football, for what it's worth, in basketball. I mean, they do, but compared to Nebraska, not much more in less in football, and certainly it's not too difficult to have much more than Nebraska in basketball. So they do have a little bit, obviously, just having the Big Ten Player of the Year, the National Player of the Year last year. So I'm not trying to downgrade them too much. But my point is, Fran McCaffrey's been there. I have to look it up maybe, but it seems like 10 plus years, has never been to a Sweet 16. And I think, it goes without saying at this point, how happy would Nebraska fans be to get a Fran McCaffrey and just have a Fran McCaffrey type run for 10 years, even if it doesn't mean the Sweet 16, because he can continue to get players that, like a Keegan Murray, that's not altogether highly ballyhooed, and just turn them over and make them into great products. And he's had a few guys there. Joe Weiskamp's a guy I think gets lost in the shuffle because of last year, although thought it was on Luka Garza. Weiskamp's probably a better player than Nebraska's had since Jordan Palmer, at least, or James Palmer, and probably, arguably right there with him. So I'm looking up he's been there since 2010, 2011. So, since Nebraska's joined the Big Ten, again, never been into the Sweet 16. That's still something he's got to pass, but always kind of in the mix there, or getting in the NIT. He's had one losing season. And again, I'm not comparing him to the greatest coach of all time, but when you look at Nebraska, I mean, you would just absolutely sell your soul at this point for that sort of resume. And for what it's worth, Fran McCaffrey's making $2.2 million this year, and Fred Hoiberg's making $3.9. He's a top 10 paid coach. And that's where the frustration, and I know it's all going to come back to money, but Hoiberg's making more than Bill Self and Tony Bennett and Bob Huggins and Scott Drew and Dana Altman and Mick Cronin, and I can go on, and it can make you sicker and sicker to have this sort of project. And it's not, again, I'm not trying to pick on one guy or these people here, but these are the adults in the room. These are the people that are, Fred making 3.9 to make it, to is in part to play this game today, and that's the product you have. It's just frustrating, and it is getting to the point where I don't have to agree with a lot of these people as the season has progressed. At the beginning it was kind of the buy is just too big, and I will continue to say that, and I would say Hoiberg's a household name, maybe this, maybe that. I just don't. I just felt today at halftime, it felt like just the final dirt on the coffin, but I don't, they might be able to raise from the dead, because I don't know if they're going to be able to deal with that buyout, but certainly if money weren't a factor, he's out.
See, I honestly am in the boat now after today, and just over the course of the season, I think it's slowly been progressing to this thought that the money, it's not as big of an issue for me personally. It's the, I think I saw something the other day, and I should go look at this for a show this week, but if I want, I may be wrong in this saying, but I think Fred Hoiberg's getting paid over a couple $1 million per win that he has here in Nebraska.
Oh, I bet, yeah.
Like per win. One win, I think I read that he was getting paid $2.1 million because of his win. Like the product that Nebraska is putting on the floor is not
maybe conference wins, probably.
Maybe conference wins. Yeah. But here's the deal. Same principle applies here.
Yeah.
The product that Nebraska puts on the floor each game is not a good representation of what they're paying Fred Hoiberg. Like there's no matchup. And you can try to negotiate his contract. You can try to figure out something similar to what you did with Scott Frost. But at the end of the day, I've said all along that these, like, you can put comparisons between Nebraska football and Nebraska basketball because you feel like they're close. Now I'm to the point where these two programs aren't farther off because Nebraska football, even though I hate this, it was one score. And you felt like in the third quarter, all right, if a couple things finally go our way, then it is what it is. But here you found yourself in the second half of Nebraska-Iowa, and Nebraska goes on a 12-0 run, or 10-0 run, to cut the lead to 25. To 25 early in the second half. And like that just can't happen in my eyes. And no matter what you're paying a coach. And I look around and I see Greg McDermott at Creighton getting paid less than $3 million. And I look around and see like other coaches, all those coaches you named. Yeah. Mick Cronin, who at UCLA is a top 5 program. Top 5 program, led a team to the Final Four last year as an 11 seed. Like, I don't understand, and especially when the expectation and what it takes to make Husker fans happy for when it comes to Nebraska basketball is pretty low. It does not take a lot.
Oh, no.
Like, get a first-round bye in the Big Ten tournament. Tell me I'm wrong.
That's what we want, but you haven't seen it for so long. Yeah, that's what you want.
Like even with Tim Miles, we didn't always get that. We had that one year where we were top 4, or we were the 4th team. We were finished 4th in the standings. But like this year, this was supposed to be the year. Like I hate to remind everybody, but this was supposed to be the year. And you're not going to be able to use that next year because it's going to say, okay, what makes this year different than last year being the year? You can't just continue to turn over roster and use the same idea that, well, we're getting athletes from the portal when every single year the athletes from the portal are not successful, no matter what the score sheet says.
Yeah, and to your point, I think Steve Sipple made a really good tweet here, obviously an early break-in of the Lincoln Journal-Star. He said, Nebraska, this was about 53 minutes ago, so while the game was going on, he says, Nebraska men's hoops this past season has losses by 35 to Michigan, 31 to Auburn, 28 to Rutgers, 27 to Purdue, 24 to Northwestern, and now this showing at Iowa ended up being 23 to Iowa. Obviously could have been a lot worse. Don't compare this to Nebraska football. It's not close. I thought that hoops lost to Iowa, Northwestern was the low. This may top it, and I think it's hard to tell. I think it maybe did, but you just feel like you're absolutely at the bottom there. Of course, the correlations are obvious there as far as like big time hires that are not just failing but massively failing. But yeah, I mean, this is not the situation where you're playing Ohio State close to, we even like gave them the pass on that. It's like, okay, Auburn and Michigan destroy you, but you know what? Auburn and Michigan are just really, really good, and this happens to some teams. But there's only so many of those that you can do throughout a season. And then, of course, when it's like Iowa can do this to people, Iowa just put up 100. If they get shooting hot, and they weren't necessarily even shooting hot today, but if they get their offense going, they can do this to people. But it just is adding up to too many teams are doing this to you. Northwestern's not really a team that necessarily does that generally. So. It's just too many of them. So there are a few games where Nebraska's close, but you would hope so. Yeah. You would hope so along a 1-13 conference start that you would at least be close here and there. But it's not necessarily even outpacing the tragic blowouts that are happening right in front of your eyes. And that's where the problem is even bigger. And another comparison, I guess, to the football team that I can still kind of see there is like what next season is going to do it for you, right? How much progress is enough progress? And I've been saying this about the football team. If they go 6-6 or 6-7 and lose a bowl game and don't look that great, yeah, I guess it's progress, but is that enough progress? Probably not. And that's kind of where you're getting to Nebraska basketball. And maybe we should have to wait till the offseason unfolds, because that's where where Nebraska football picked up a lot of their momentum. But it's harder to do that in basketball. There, you can't get an hot offensive coordinator. You can get a guy on the bench, but how much are we really going to believe it at this point? And then, as far as just players, are they going to get the Big 12's leader in 3-point percentage, or something like that to compare?
Don't forget, Lat Mayen was supposed to be this 3-point sharpshooter, and in Fred Hoiberg's own words, if you go back and look at the article that when Fred Hoiberg announced Lat Mayen was addition to the team, said he gives them a big presence down low for rebounding.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's things that just don't add up. And one thing I wanted to mention before we get too far away from it, you mentioned that we give them the pass for Auburn and Michigan, and rightfully so. But here's the deal. We gave them a pass because, once again, the expectation at the beginning of the season was, all right, make the NIT, be a bubble team, and to put that in numbers terms, be a top 70 team in the Big Ten, or in the country, be a top 80 team in the country. But instead, in the net, you're 202nd.
Yeah.
You are 130 places off from where you were the top of the line expectation was. Like you have failed dramatically. And I don't want to, I'm not trying to call for jobs. I don't want to be that guy. But at some point you have to. At some point there's got to be change.
Yeah, and to the to kind of the big when you're out, you kind of have to punch up to fight against those Michigan and Auburn teams.
Exactly.
And yeah, Nebraska consistently probably shouldn't be beating those teams, and you can expect blowouts here and there. But Arkansas and Arizona State and Rutgers, these are teams that are getting wins over top 5 teams as well. It can happen on a given night. I don't necessarily feel like it can happen for Nebraska, because I don't see them putting a 40-minute game together against anybody this year, much less a top team.
Iowa State was 2-22 last year. Obviously, it was an unconventional year, but it was unconventional for everybody. Iowa State was 2-22 last year. They are 16-9 under TJ Otzelberger in his first year. It doesn't have to be a flashy hire. Your coach does not have to be flashy.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry. And especially when it comes to Nebraska basketball, like, I think it's different for maybe other programs at Nebraska. Football probably being one of them. You want to make a splash hire because football is the main driver. But here it is. I don't think if they do decide to go in a new direction, it needs to be a flashy hire. I honestly don't, because here's the deal is, no matter who you bring in, whether it's a flashy hire or whether it's not, it's going to be hard to get excitement up around this program, in my opinion.
Well, if anything, the hope would be it's new. It's something different.
That's maybe refreshing would be a good word.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of clean the slate. Obviously, you wouldn't expect you're back to another year of year one where it's kind of whatever happens. But it would at least be hope again for the future, where I think that is so much just kind of dwindling under Hoiberg, that to the point of almost for mostly everybody giving up. Again, to the Fran McCaffrey thing, to your point, he was hired from Siena. That's where Iowa found their guy for the last 12 years.
Well, I think maybe when it comes to Nebraska men's basketball, and text line can let me know if I'm wrong, or they can call in, and Bach, please, cut me off if you need to. But like, the way that I kind of perceive Nebraska men's basketball right now is it's a job where a new coach gets his first time head coaching job. That's Nebraska basketball, in my opinion.
Yeah,
I don't want to call it a stair stepper, because you have resources here that are available across the board. There's no doubt about that. But I don't see Nebraska luring away a head coach like from Louisville. They're going to have to go out and get a Mark Turgeon, who was pushed out the door at Maryland.
Chris Mack might be available.
Chris Mack, who got pushed out the door at Louisville for whatever reason. Like that's what's going to happen to get that flashy name, in my opinion.
Yeah.
You're not going to be able. You're going to have to go get like either an assistant coach from a top school. You're going to have to go get a first-time head coach at a Power 5 level that puts them up through the ranks. I don't want to keep saying his name. TJ Otzelberger is one of them.
Yeah.
Like somebody from a UNLV or a team that makes the NCAA tournament every year from the SWAC or the Big Sky, like whatever.
Yeah.
Just like one of the lower conference. But here's the deal, like, and how sad is that to say?
Well,
It's disappointing.
It
It is what it is, but it's gut-wrenching to say out
But a
loud.
lot of program. I mean, Nebraska's not alone in that, though. There's a lot of
No,
programs that
no.
are going to have, unless they throw gobs of money like Nebraska did, then you're not going to be able to draw in what Kansas or Kentucky or somebody can get on the open market. You're going to have to take a chance with kind of an up-and-comer, or like you said, maybe a first-time guy off the bench somewhere from a Kentucky or Duke or Kansas or something like that.
Like
but,
a Chris Collins. Like, not saying Nebraska will go to Duke for that, but like a Chris Collins who came from Duke to Northwestern, and they had that connection there. Like, something similar to that. But at the end of the day, like, Nebraska fans, when it comes to men's basketball, don't need much to be happy. And it's okay to admit that right now.
Yeah.
It's okay to admit that because you're 6-17 or 6-18.
Well, they do need something to be happy with.
Seven wins. My bad.
And this basketball team's not giving them much as far as currently or hope for the future. But we'll take a quick break here on the Hoops Postgame Show, brought to you by Action Plumbing, Heating, AC, and Electrical. Thanks to those guys again for sticking with us this basketball season. So we'll be right back on the Hoops Postgame Show. Break more of it down. Again, kind of a bigger picture discussion today after Nebraska loses 98-75 to the Hawkeyes, the hated Hawkeyes over there at Iowa. We'll break it down more next here on 93.7 The Ticket.
Gray Diesel and Equipment Services is your go-to place in Lincoln for repairs and maintenance for diesel pickups to Class 8 over-the-road trucks and trailers, from bumper pole utility to full-size semi. Gray performs DOT inspections and are a service provider for fleet companies like ARI, Element Fleet, and FleetNet. They're a family-owned business in operation since 1952, and they keep a clean, friendly shop. Customer service is their top priority. Give Gray Diesel and Equipment Services a visit today with easy access just off I-80 and North 56th Street. You can search online for hours to find the best electricians in Lincoln and the surrounding area, but I'll save you time. High Electric has been serving their customers for 30 years for both residential and commercial properties. They're experts in everything electrical, from remodeling to new additions, hot tub installations, electric vehicle chargers or EV chargers, lighting, ceiling fans, and more. High Electric takes jobs from Beatrice to Omaha and all towns, big or small, in between. Call them today at 402-466-6606 or learn more at highelectric.com.
You hear that? That's the sound of extremely tender and delicious beef from certified Piedmontese. Prime grade tenderness with a fraction of the fat and calories of normal beef. It's Nebraska-raised product and the official beef of Nebraska Athletics. Change the way you buy beef today at the Mercado by Certified Piedmontese, just north of 84th and Havelock, or at cpmercado.com.
Shopping for insurance can be a tedious and frustrating task, but the agents at Brokers Insurance Agency will do the work for you. They have partnered with over 20 of the best insurance carriers in the nation, which allows them to do the shopping all for you. Whether you're looking for business insurance or employee benefits for your company, or you're looking to save money on your home and auto insurance, Brokers Insurance Agency has the agents and solutions to help meet your goals. Call 402-420-5353 or email staff at brokersinsurancenE.com.
Landmark Implement, your local John Deere dealership, is hosting their annual planter clinic at the Adams County Fairgrounds in Hastings, Nebraska, February 23rd and 24th. Landmark's planter clinic offers expansive equipment training and important information on new and updated technology for this planting season. Learn more about AMS documentation and guidance, row unit and meter settings, and soil moisture monitoring options. Join us February 23rd and 24th in Hastings, RSVP by calling your local Landmark.
Action Plumbing, Heating, Air, and Electric always makes safety a top priority for our home and office. In under just 1 hour, their team installed the state-of-the-art air scrubber system directly into our existing HVAC ductwork. This technology purifies the air and reduces exposure to common bacteria and viruses, creating a safer breathing environment for my family. Action delivers honest quality services we can count on. To learn more, visit actionlincoln.com.
Are you tired of lousy internet and faceless customer service? It's time to experience local, honest, hassle-free, and exceptional. That's the Allo Promise. We not only provide crazy fast fiber internet, crystal clear TV, and dependable phone service, but we choose to become a part of the communities that we serve and love when everyone calls or stops by our store to say hello. So, don't settle for mediocre, settle for exceptional with Allo. Visit us at allofiber.com/local.
Mike Shaver here for Trek CBD. There's a lot of CBD shops opening up in Lincoln, but Trek CBD focuses on quality above all else. Their products are from local CBD company Nico Farms and are third-party laboratory tested. They have products that can help with stress, anxiety, pain, relief, and more, and have a wide selection of Delta 8, including Serene 8. Trek CBD is locally owned and operated. Go visit Scott or Shannon at their 84th and Highway 2 location or at 27th and S, or go online to Trek CBD with free delivery. Trek CBD. CBD done right.
Today on Hey Culligan, why does your team stink? Here's Coach Waters.
Hey Culligan, yeah, my team stinks.
Ooh, harsh.
No, I mean they stink. They won't hit the showers because it makes their skin all dry and itchy.
Coach, it sounds like your guys have been hit hard by hard water.
You kidding me? Hard water?
Yep, so let's call an audible in the form of one Culligan Smart High Efficiency Water Softener to get the smooth back in their skin and the stink out of your team.
Okay, Culligan, I'm putting you in.
Coach, we're already on the way.
Go to CulliganLincoln.com and schedule your free water test today.
Back to the Tickets Basketball Postgame Show, featuring Derek Pearson and former Husker and 9-year NBA vet Eric Strickland on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
We are back here on the Hoops Postgame Show on 93.7 The Ticket, wrapping up disappointing loss for Nebraska, 98-75 to the hated Hawkeyes. Iowa gets the win today. Keegan Murray could have had 50, ended up going for 37 on 15 of 21 shooting. DP asked me who they should guard with him the other day, or who should match up with him, and I was kind of going through my options. The answer, it was nobody. A mismatch for just about everybody on the roster today. Keegan Murray, very impressive to watch. If there's one thing that you could take away from the game, is that guy's pretty darn good. Other Hawkeyes doing well today. Sanford had 12 points. Keegan Murray's brother, I'm forgetting his name, Chris Murray, also had 12 points, and he looked pretty good doing that as well. Jordan Bohannon, the sixth-year Hawkeye, had 10 points to lead the Hawkeyes. Nebraska, meanwhile, led by Derek Walker with 14 points, 6 rebounds, 10 points for Eduardo Andre off the bench, 7 points for Lot Main and Trey McGowan's each, 11 for Bryce McGowan's, 5 for Alonzo Verge to go along with his 6 assists. Some of the other guys, Tamanaga and Cronin, actually, and CJ Wilcher, all with 5 points. Kobe Webster with 6 points. So at least there was a Jackson Cronin side, and he made the most of it. He got 5 points in his 2 minutes of play.
2 of 2 from the field, baby.
Usually you'd hope to see him in a blowout win for the Huskers, but I don't know. Have there been any of those? I don't feel like he's gotten those. Yeah, Colorado in the exhibition game. Again, now Nebraska falls to 7-18. 1-13 in conference play. I think it's kind of getting to that point. I'm going to start looking up how inept that is compared to historically in the Big Ten for Nebraska conference standings, and maybe just kind of compared it to the other conference standings around the nation. But that's right up there. It's got to be one of the worst it doesn't get much worse, obviously. It was, at least they got the win against Minnesota to get out of the absolute, to get a win on the board. I try to say out of the cellar. They're still in the cellar. They're still 1-13 in Big Ten play. Maryland,
they're lower. They're lower than where they were before Minnesota.
Yeah, they're right back, at least right back to it, or even worse. Yeah. But at least, more than anything, I mean, 0 for 20 was going to be really, really tough. I mean, not that 1-19.
It's tough to do. It's tough to do. Yeah. It's tough to do. You win one of them. You have to win one. What's the response, Bach, if they lose to Maryland? Because Maryland is 13th in the conference.
Yeah, and with their coach,
and they're coming
early.
Yeah, and they're coming to Lincoln. Because we were talking about this during the break, like PBA is not a hard place for a team to come in and play.
No, right.
It's not.
No.
But I said this also. You give Husker fans 14 wins, 15 wins, and that place has 10, 11, maybe 13,000 people every night.
Oh, yeah.
14 wins.
You're talking on the season, too.
And on the season. And that, like, we have half of that. Nebraska has half of that. It seems 14 wins seems so far out of the realm of possibility right now. with this staff, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's really tough. And again, when you consider the money as the factor too, you also have to consider the money coming in, and I know they're don't make any money on the secondary market necessarily of tickets, but it all kind of goes to show you tickets have been $2 to get into these games for most of conference play. It's still there, and I think whatever fee you have to pay for the secondary sites is more so than what you'll pay anybody that has tickets that's willing to go out there and sell them on the street. You can't make much more than that, and it's almost not even worth your time to go out there and stand in the cold. No. So I don't know how many guys are out there doing that anymore, but it's just again, it's about as low as the program can get, and it's like, is there a curse around here? What's going on? Because every time I say that, I mean, then Nebraska football goes 3-9 with the best 3-9 team of all time, and Nebraska basketball can't, for the life of them, have any life in their program, are 1-13 in conference play despite their best recruiting class of all time. The frustration is mounting for a lot of people, but more than that, at least I'm still frustrated. Most people, I think a lot of people have checked out. We know that, we can see that, and we'll see it again at Pinnacle Bank Arena, like you're saying, for this Maryland game Friday night at 8. I mean, it's not going to be a hostile environment. I do want to, I still want to stick around for the team and cheer for them, and maybe they can get another win or two down the stretch. But it just, at this point, it doesn't feel like it means anything, especially if those wins are going to be combated with, I have less faith. I mean, obviously, I have a lot less faith that they're going to win one or two games and that they're going to get blown out by a few more of these teams.
I don't even know, honestly, where to turn it. Because like you just said, I personally, I want to cheer for guys like Derek Walker and Kobe Webster and Bryce and Trey, especially because Trey rehabbed, after the broken.
I mean, all of them, they're all good kids. That's why.
Here's the thing, though. You can cheer for those guys and be interested in watching those guys play and still have a lack of confidence in where this program is at and where it's headed. I think that we have to be very clear about that, because like I said earlier, this is becoming less and less about the players that they have and how they're playing. Then it's becoming less about that and more about coaching.
Right. And that's what I think the frustration
program
is.
And looking at the program from a bigger, a little more of a microscope.
But don't you think that's partially why the frustration is there? I mean, you can try to rip apart the talent that's there here and there or whatever, but Alonzo Verge this is a proven guy over in the Pac-12. Bryce McGowan,
but in a different role,
is a lottery. I know, but you're right. And that's what I'm saying. It's all going back to, these guys, they're not as bad individually as the sum of all the parts. So that's got to reflect on the coaching. Again, this is a better roster than 1-13 in Big Ten play. I don't think it's necessarily a roster to get to 500 in Big Ten play, but it can't be that much worse than that. I mean, at least you look like a Northwestern at 5-9. Should at least be in that sort of category.
Be a top 10 team in the conference. A top 10. Be better than 4 teams. 4. I just with this, we've talked about it, extensively and things like that, but just showing over and over that plug and play has not been successful for them. Somebody asked earlier, how much does next year's how can he keep that $18 million in good conscience? How much does next year's recruiting play in for you guys? In 100% honesty, I don't care. I really don't, because there's a chance that they bring in all those guys. If they retain the staff, there's a chance that they bring in all those guys. And that's great, because Ramel Lloyd's doing great things at Sierra Canyon. There's a lot to be excited about. But once again, it's hard for me to say that and think back to where we were last year at this time saying, well, there's a lot to be excited about. There's a lot. You have Bryce McGowan's coming in. And obviously this year you don't have Wilhelm Breidenbach because of an injury. But one thing that how much recruiting of their own players is this staff going to have to do after this year?
Oh yeah. I think
a guy
huge.
Like Eduardo Andre is somebody that personally for me is what's the upside for him coming back? Because you wonder how much he plays if Derek Walker returns, number one, and Wilhelm Breidenbach comes back. Oleg will be available next year if he sticks around. And then you're bringing in Blaze Keita.
I don't think Andre would necessarily be frozen out of the rotation. The problem that I'm having more so than like playing time, because I think it's like a two-pronged problem. A lot of these guys are going to be gone, and so you're going back over to, like you were saying, kind of flipping the roster again. Here we go with all new guys, all new roles. But for the few guys that are returning, I have a hard time imagining that they're having fun. That a change of scenery might help them as well, and I hope that's not the case. But what can you say about? I mean, losing's not fun. This is not This is not the season anybody wants to play out. As we keep saying, I mean, things are going to be toxic around Nebraska basketball discussions once again, just like they were after Northwestern. That's not fun, And then when you talk about next year, the recruiting class for me was doing a lot of it for me eventually. But like we're saying, I just don't necessarily believe in the coaching. I don't believe in the strategy. I don't, so, I mean, they seem like they're with all the expected turnover that they're more than a few pieces away, unless those pieces are game changing. And then I look at those recruiting as well and just think, are these guys all committed well before the season played out like this?
Yeah.
Are they still wanting to be aboard? Are they going to want to jump aboard on this? I don't know. I wouldn't necessarily.
Well, what you just said made me think of something. I mean, similar to what I said at the beginning of the show. It's how many times are we going to allow ourselves to blame the lack of success on the players and not the coaches? Does it take 6 years? Does it take 7? Or can we sit here after a few years where Nebraska's not won nearly enough games, even for up to Nebraska basketball standards, and you can take COVID year out of it because it was unconventional, but at the end of the day, they haven't won enough games, and this is a win or go home kind of job. And so how many times are we going to allow ourselves to say, yeah, it's the players. They're not putting in an effort. They're not making enough shots, despite them being highly regarded as hot shooters and really strong from beyond the arc and really good rebounders and all this, and start blaming the coaches, the guys that are bringing these athletes into the program, and it just doesn't work out because whether it's strategy, like Bach said, whether it's finding situations to put players in, like we talked about Alonzo Verge moments ago, he's in a completely different role this year at Nebraska than he was at Arizona State. Now, with that being said, there's been a lot of bright spots with Alonzo Verge, but you wonder how that plays in with some of his teammates and him being able to facilitate the rock, and which he's done in high numbers and high fashion many times this year. But there's also been a lot of turnovers with it because we're trying to make flashy passes when you're 7 and 18 and you need to make just the basic basketball play. It's little things like that where after today, I really started to ask myself, when am I going to stop blaming the players for not making the shots and blame the staff and the guys who are in charge to put them in a good position to make a shot?
Well, if it makes you feel any better, they hit a lot of them in practice. So
and they hit a lot of them in the second half.
Yeah,
but it was when you're down by 30 and you go on a 10-0 run and you're down by 25.
It's a tough day for Nebraska basketball and their following, which we are a part of. We will get to more of your reaction again. We got to take a quick break. Once again, the Hoops postgame brought to you by Action Plumbing, Heating, AC, and Electrical. Once again, thanks to them for being our sponsor. We'll take a quick break and jump back and wrap things up with more of your reaction, more of the overall reaction to Nebraska's 13th loss in Big Ten play this year after they drop one to Iowa 98-75. We'll be back on the Hoops postgame show.
Action Plumbing, Heating, Air, and Electric ensures our home and office HVAC systems run smoothly throughout the year to provide maximum comfort and convenience. Routine maintenance reduced our operating costs just by improving the efficiency of our unit. Consider a maintenance agreement to ensure you too receive priority for services and scheduling. This helps meet manufacturer warranty requirements. Action delivers honest quality services we can count on. To learn more, visit actionlincoln.com.
At Buffalo Wings and Rings, they've crafted a new league of superior chicken sandwiches. Meet the Ringers. It's premium, house-made, beer-battered, fried chicken served buffalo, Korean, or MVP style. Head to Buffalo Wings and Rings Lincoln and raise a glass to superior chicken. 2 locations at 68th and O and at 40th and Old Cheney. Buffalo Wings and Rings.
Old School with DP and J.
And I learned this about the difference between the college game and the NFL. Every play is designed offensively and defensively for one guy to make a mistake, whether it's being out of your gap, forgetting the blitz, forgetting a check on offense, forgetting the snap count. In college, it might be explosive play, 15 yards, whatever you deem as explosive play. The pros,
all of them are house.
All of them are the guy will hit his head on the goalpost.
On 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Landmark Implement, your local John Deere dealership, is hosting their annual planter clinic at the Adams County Fairgrounds in Hastings, Nebraska, February 23rd and 24th. Landmark's Planter Clinic offers expansive equipment training and important information on new and updated technology for this planting season. Learn more about AMS documentation and guidance, row unit and meter settings, and soil moisture monitoring options. Join us February 23rd and 24th in Hastings, RSVP by calling your local Landmark.
There's not many things worse than having plumbing issues at your home or business, but it's even worse if the problem isn't fixed correctly. Select Plumbing gets it right the first time, and they specialize in several things: general plumbing, water heaters, faucet and fixture repair,
underground sewer and water repairs, backflow testing, and more. Keep your property free from leaks and other issues. Call today for a free estimate at 402-560-6197. Plus, they're hiring service plumbers. Contact Select Plumbing to inquire at 402-560-6197.
Gray Diesel and Equipment Services is your go-to place in Lincoln for repairs and maintenance for diesel pickups to Class 8 over-the-road trucks and trailers, from bumper pole utility to full-size semi. Gray performs DOT inspections and are a service provider for fleet companies like ARI, Element Fleet, and FleetNet. They're a family-owned business in operation since 1952, and they keep a clean, friendly shop. Customer service is their top priority. Give Gray Diesel and Equipment Services a visit today, with easy access just off I-80 and North 56th Street.
Now what do? Football is over. The weather's crappy. Man, I tell you what, it's a perfect time to go car shopping. This is Carl from Price Right Auto. Come out to Price Right in Westo, and you'll find over 100 great vehicles at some great prices. With our non-commissioned sales process, we let you control the sale. We won't let you get a lemon since we back every one of our vehicles with our peace of mind 3-month warranty. If you want a hassle-free car buying experience, check out our website, PriceRightAuto.com. Come see a great selection of affordable used cars on Westo Street at Price Right Auto.
Hi, Sean Callahan here of HuskerOnline.com, inviting you to join us here on 93.7 The Ticket every Saturday morning. Now in our new time, we're on from 8 to 9 with the weekly Husker Online radio show. We'll give you the latest in recruiting. We'll talk about what's going on with both football, basketball, and we'll probably share a few stories from the inside. It's every Saturday morning right here on 93.7 The Ticket. It's the Husker Online radio show from 8 to 9 a.m.
Back to the Tickets Basketball Postgame Show, featuring Derek Pearson and former Husker and 9-year NBA vet, Eric Strickland, on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Wrapping up things before we get prepared for the Super Bowl. Of course, one more shout out. We are having a Super Bowl party, though, at Buffalo Wings and Rings. Go ahead and head out there. 68th and O. We've got some prizes we're going to give out after every quarter. Obviously, great food and beverage there as well. We love having our Super Bowl party out there, so join us out there. If you don't have plans tonight, even if you do, break those off. Some things are more important in life, and a Super Bowl party at Buffalo Wings and Rings is one of them. Before we get out of here, we did want to get some more of your reaction on Facebook. Again, Brian Joe says, if Fred stays, he needs to shake up the coaching staff. I think we all pretty much agree with that. Brian Joe also says free CJ Wilcher. I hope he doesn't mean from the program. Maybe just more playing time for CJ.
What's interesting about CJ as well, though, I mean, with him using his transfer, he'd have to go, if he decides to move on from Nebraska's program, then he'd have to sit out a year.
Yeah, that's the building block because he's forced.
Like you're landlocked.
He's a forced building block. Yeah.
CJ Wilcher is Nebraska basically because he's locked. He's locked into place, unfortunately.
Yeah. And he is a bright spot. I'll continue to say that. I mean, he is. I mean, he's the one guy that's shooting well beyond the arc this year, and it looks pure. I mean, it's not like fake or he's getting by with it. I'm looking forward to see how he develops. Almost at this point, regardless of who's coaching him in the next couple of years.
I don't care how atrocious shot form looks. If it goes in,
Yeah.
Give me that.
But there's something nice about a nice
It
sweet
is.
stroke.
You're
like
absolutely
this
right.
as
You're
well.
absolutely right. But when you're 7-17, whatever you need to do.
Yeah, we can't really read this one off the text line. Skurs bleeping suck. Well, yeah. Okay. Thanks for joining us. The Milkman says, how's this the best recruiting class? I can only name Bryce McGowan's over Glenn Watson, Morrow, and Jacobson. That was another Bollywood recruiting class that turned out okay for a minute.
Jacobson
Glenn
went to
Watson
Iowa
was
State.
good. Yeah, Morrow went off to Marquette.
Yep.
So that kind of fell apart. But Glenn Watson, this is how there's one more matchup with Jordan Bohannon. And how I remember first about Jordan Bohannon was his shootout with Glenn Watson Jr.
Really?
Years and years ago.
I
Yeah.
honestly don't remember that
It's
one.
been that long. Nebraska was a top 25 team, and Jordan Bohannon in Iowa was a top 25 team. It was like 24 versus 25 or something like that. And they both were hitting it.
Was that in Lincoln?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay, then I do remember. Yes.
Yeah. But that's how long Jordan Bohannon's been here. This recruiting class, Bryce Wilhelm Wilhelm Breidenbach. Sorry, Bryce.
Q McPherson as well, who's redshirting.
But Breidenbach was a top 150 type of guy as well.
From Matter Day.
So that's kind of what helped out that class. And obviously it'd be nice to have had him throughout the year. I don't know. Again, I know that's hurt the rotations and stuff. He was kind of struggling a little bit when he was playing, so I don't know if that's a difference in too many wins this year, but it would have been nice to see him obviously develop, and it'll be, for the future. Hopefully he sticks around and we can see kind of what they make out of it. I guess just kind of final thoughts for you, Nick, as we wrap up this post-game show. Nebraska losing again, 98-75 to the Hawkeyes, falling to 7-18 and 1-13 overall.
Well, I know we're kind of in the same boat in this, and I'll try to make this quick, but I guess the thought I keep having is how many things Nebraska needs to go their way to be competitive in a game. If you think about it, there's no real strength. Iowa's this year is offense. They push the pace. They know they do it well, and they say, hey, try to stop us. Wisconsin football, run the football. We don't care that we're running it. It's going to be successful. Yeah. Nebraska basketball doesn't have anything like that. If you think about it, Nebraska basketball needs the other team to shoot poor. They need the other team to not be tall so that they can win the rebound battle, or at least stay competitive in the rebound battle. They need the other team to turn over the basketball, and that's basically it. These are all variables that Nebraska can control. You want to be able to control the things you can control. Well, you can control your play, but with Nebraska men's basketball, they need so many other things to go their way with the other team to even be competitive. And that's just not a recipe. It's okay if that's the case in year one, but not in year three. Year three, it needs to be, you need to be able to dictate whether or not you win a game or not, in my opinion.
I guess the good news is we're just on a 1-game winning streak or losing streak now. So that's, that feels a little bit better than it has in past weeks.
What is it? They've lost 17 of the last 18?
Hey, don't bring that up. Just a 1-game losing streak. Nebraska will get back to action at 8 p.m., on BTN on Friday. So we'll look forward to that. We'll have another post-game show against Maryland. That's a winnable game. Hopefully it doesn't turn into a blowout as this winnable game did. That'll wrap it up for Nick Sainert and myself. Again, join us for the Super Bowl party. Have a great Super Bowl regardless. Have a great weekend as well.
Action Plumbing, Heating, Air, and Electric always makes safety a top priority for our home and office. In under just 1 hour, their team installed the state-of-the-art air scrubber system directly into our existing HVAC ductwork.